Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host today. We're broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast. Today's episode is brought to you by Alpine Cabinetry and Warren Wessel Realty. By the way, if you want to support people who believe the same things that you do, listen to supporters here. To be a supporter on this show, our sponsors, you gotta think like us. I'm not gonna bring some lefty group or business here. We're not gonna be promoting Target or Bud Light on this show. We're gonna tell you the people that both we trust because they do good business, like Warren Wessel, literally found and sold my home, or sold my home, found me in my new home, but also the people that think and believe the same things that you do. So Warren Wessel Realty. You can call Warren at 651-209-0171. Mega Jesse, what are we going to talk about today on the show?
Oh, yeah, we got some good things because today should be the final day of the GOP primary. I think Trump is going to close it out. I think Nikki Haley is going to drop out. So things are pretty exciting. We got the New Hampshire primary. We got some predictions and ideas with what to expect from that. We're going to dig into Nikki Haley's affair. We're going to talk about the Texas border ruling.
I don't know if we're going to dig into that.
Maybe not dig in, but
I see you put that in the headline. I don't know.
There's something there. There's something there.
Okay.
The Texas border ruling is a big story. Marjorie Taylor Greene is also saying that she may vacate the speaker of Mike Johnson, so that's a big, interesting story. Democrats are hiding January 6th footage, and a Joe Biden political action committee is paying $1 million to social media influencers to push his propaganda.
Reading your comments today is the lovely Bridget. How you doing, Bridget?
I'm doing great, and that camera seems so far away for some reason.
It is far away, but there's a reason behind Dawson doing that.
Oh.
He knows what he's doing. Mr. Deep State himself.
Hi, guys. We have a lot of people in the comments. Rydog, Hey MN, Tucker, Base Minnesota, Brad, Pamela, I'm not sure how you say that, actually.
Have we had Pamela?
Napkinate and K-Wall.
Pamela K. Jones seems like a new name. Is that somebody new?
I think that's new. I don't remember that.
Welcome, Pamela.
Hopefully it's new. Yeah.
Good to see you, K-Wall and Tucker.
Tucker, I'm not going hunting. I just happen to like this color.
Hate Minnesota, Base Minnesota, Brad Ganser. I'll even say Brad Ganser, you know.
Yeah.
He's all right.
All about the Trump train, he says.
There you go. Mr. Deep State himself running the dials there. How you doing, Dawson?
It's me. I'm doing good. Today's upper body day, and I'm going to do pec flies, and it's going to be lit.
And
it's going to fucking rock.
If your voice would have cracked on that, it would have sounded a lot better.
It doesn't even matter because I'm so intimidating looking in the gym. People don't get to hear me speak.
You are getting much more jacked. I got to put.
I just grunt, and they get it. They get out of my way.
Yeah, I was thinking about all you guys this weekend. I already talked to Bridget about what I wanted to talk to her about. I forgot to talk to you about this morning, but you're doing really good. Well, we'll talk after the show, but...
Oh, come on. You're not going to give it to me on air?
Because you said you were getting pudgy or a little fat about a year ago.
Yeah.
And I always thought you were just trying to get super jacked, but really you like hitting those objectives of being much more lean. And I get to see how crazy you go with your diet around here, so...
It's true. It's crazy.
Off to you on that
I'm down to 1,600 calories a day.
That is not a lot.
I'm so tired, but it's worth it.
Yeah. It's amazing you can make 6-minute videos. All right, let's get into the first one. So New Hampshire, let's pull up the Real Clear Politics here. People didn't come here to talk about Dawson's diet today.
Sad.
Click on, is this on New Hampshire? Oh, yeah, it is on New Hampshire.
Should be.
I should be pulling up on my computer. Come on, Jake, pretend like you've done this before. It's not even going to be close tonight. The polls in Iowa seem to be pretty dead on, and right now in New Hampshire, it seems like it's going to be the same thing. Trump is in the most recent ones: Boston Globe, Insider Advantage, Trafalgar Group. Although I question Trafalgar's polls these days because they were showing like way big Republican surge in Minnesota. But Trump is well over 20 points. Or Insider Advantage has got him at 27 points. And that is just an enormous lead. But if you go to this graph down here, pull that up a little bit, Dawson, you can see the surge comes basically after the Iowa caucus. Some people are actually alluding to this campaign ad that Trump put out showing Nikki Haley wants to cut Social Security. I just don't know. I'm not so certain that's the big play, but obviously we're not on the ground in New Hampshire, so there could be dynamics. But clearly people gravitate towards the winner. DeSantis is now leaving, although none of these polls factor that in. Vec left on the day of the caucus. These are places where Trump's going to get a boost, plus the surge of winning the Iowa caucus by a big margin. Nikki Haley also climbed, which could be explained in some ways, but it's just not enough. It's a 20-point. I mean, right now, Real Clear Politics has a 19.3 point advantage. Jesse, am I wrong? Is Trump not just going to dominate tonight?
Right, and especially with all of the momentum that he's been getting, with all of these endorsements, even though we might look at someone like Doug Burgum, we might look at Tim Scott, and we might say, who cares? But the thing is, it is causing a whole lot of momentum, and especially with DeSantis coming out and endorsing Trump. I wish that DeSantis would have done a rally with Trump. I think that would have cemented the entire thing. It would have been nice if DeSantis went to New Hampshire to a Trump rally, just like Vivek did, just like some of these others did, because it would have been nice to see the two of them together and on the same page. But I think, DeSantis, he obviously still has his feelings hurt a little bit. He was enough of a man to endorse Trump at the end of this thing, but
I would say he's less of a man for doing that, but we'll get into that in just a
right.
minute.
The way he did it was a little bit soft, and also, in his endorsement dropout video, he kind of threw a couple of shots Trump's way, and it's like, I thought this was the guy that you're endorsing. I'm not sure why you're deciding to throw these little pieces out there, but the momentum is definitely on Trump's side, especially with Tim Scott, because if Tim Scott, a South Carolina senator, is endorsing Trump over his former governor, Nikki Haley, that's a big sign of things to come, because Nikki Haley, a lot of people don't know this, Nikki Haley was the one who put Tim Scott in the Senate. He was appointed to the U.S. Senate by Nikki Haley. So, it also shows me this isn't a very loyal guy, that Tim Scott. Anyone who's willing to backstab someone who put them in the position that they're in shows you the kind of person that they are. It shows that he's just climbing the ladder.
Maybe you could say that he's more principled because he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that this was out of principle. This was out of opportunity.
How do you know?
Because Tim Scott didn't endorse Trump right when he dropped out. What did he do? He waited until there was no other option, and then he got behind
That's
Trump.
a fair point.
He didn't do it just like Tom Emmer and just like these other rhinos. The endorsements that are coming out for Trump right now, that's not because of MAGA patriots finally standing up. No. That's the rhino politicians realizing, get on board or get run over. Mm-hmm. And, Tim Scott, he's got an interesting career. I've been doing a little more digging. He actually, the first time he was elected to U.S. Congress, he beat Strom Thurmond's son for that seat. And then, just a couple of years later, Nikki Haley was putting him in the U.S. Senate. And to me, it just shows no loyalty. And, we could say, yeah, maybe it's principled for him not to get behind Rhino Nikki Haley, but there's a reason Rhino Nikki Haley chose him for the U.S. Senate in the first place. It's because they're of the same breed.
Speaking of Tim Scott, congrats to him. His girlfriend accepted his proposal. Did he just get...
Yeah.
Is he really?
Was he ever married before?
Yeah, never been married before. Just like Lindsey Graham. I think he's probably 50, 55 maybe.
Wow.
But yeah, he's got himself a new blonde, younger girlfriend, so it looks like Tim Scott's happy.
I don't know. I have these thoughts going through my head when you're 50 years old and they haven't been married yet. So let's go into pull up the different groups in New Hampshire and how they're voting. The graphic I sent you, Dawson. This is fascinating. So between Trump and Haley, of all New Hampshire GOP voters, 64% who are registered Republicans say they're voting for Trump. Only 22 say they're going Haley. It's like a massive difference. Now, anyone can vote in these primaries, right? They're open primaries. Mm-hmm. Democrats actually do have something going on, okay? They're actually now trying to revive the Biden campaign with a write-in campaign, which is hilarious to me. But, you literally have Dean Phillips putting all his eggs in that basket. So it's not going to be like there's a ton of Democrats coming over and voting in the Republican primary. Mm-hmm. When you go to registered undeclared voters, Trump's at 38, Nikki Haley's at 48%, okay? One of the other big interesting ones to me was if you go somewhat down to the bottom, moderate to liberal. If people are identified as moderate liberal, Trump only gets 29%, Haley gets 56%. Then if it's the question of Biden won due to fraud, 82% go Trump, whereas then Haley's at 6%. So, it's it seems pretty evident that Nikki Haley's just going to the new crowds of left-leaning voters, right? Mm-hmm. That's where her supposed votes are. So I almost think the polls might be off on this thing, and Trump will be even better than initially thought, because when it really comes to voting in a primary, the people that are going to be motivated to do are the people that go every time to the primary. Right?
Yeah, the only thing with this one, too, is the only reason why Trump might not perform to that maybe 60% level of gain 60% in this primary will be if the Democrats show up and vote in the Republican primary. If a lot of Democrats do that, then maybe all of a sudden, things might be tilted. But as you mentioned, that's because Joe Biden isn't participating in the New Hampshire primary. The Democrats have to go out and write him in on the ballot. How many Democrats are actually going to go to the Democratic primary to write him in? A lot of people are starting to say Dean Phillips, he's been doing a lot of town halls, he's been doing a lot of things around New Hampshire. Maybe he has an actual chance, and I think a lot of these Democrats on the inside are saying to themselves, we don't want Joe Biden to be the nominee, and try to find a more standard Democrat than Dean Phillips. He fits the bill perfectly for what these Democrats who want an excuse out of Biden are looking for. So I think he's going to overperform the expectations. Maybe Joe Biden will still win it. But that Democratic primary, that's not a lock either. And that's also because, like we said, a lot of these Democrats might go out and vote for Nikki in the Republican primary, and they might be screwing Joe Biden in the process.
This is actually interesting. The number one thing tonight is to watch Trump win, okay?
Yep.
And then I think that clears the path, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Number two is how many people literally go there and write in Joe Biden. That, to me, is the big news story.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what that number is. Like, if
Right.
I just handicapped it, I'm thinking, I really don't know. This is the big speculation. 20%?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but that's the thing. So, these Democrats, they've been doing some polling. It shows that Joe Biden's at that, 60, 65% range.
If his name is on the thing,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. If his name's on the ballot, then that's probably where it would be at. But the fact that people have to intentionally go and write him in, and I could see these Democrats going into the polls with the plan to vote for Joe Biden, and they look at all these all these other options, and they say, maybe Joe Biden isn't the one for the job. Look at all these people who are stepping up to the plate. So I think that it's going to be a lot more competitive than the media or the Democrats want us to think it's going to be. And, the media is not going to cover this thing effectively after it happens tomorrow, but we'll see what goes on with that Democratic primary. I think Dean Phillips is, I saw one poll with him at 35% in New Hampshire. So if he's able to pull that off, that would be the upset of a lifetime. We've never seen, at least in recent history, we haven't seen a sitting president lose any primary in any state. So the DNC, they're not going to even count these New Hampshire delegates. They're telling people this is a fake primary. It's not going to matter. The delegates are going to be disqualified, especially if Dean Phillips beats Joe Biden. They definitely won't count those delegates to the DNC convention. So,
But we better save our democracy.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the Democrats need to destroy democracy to protect democracy.
Yeah, that's right.
That's their ideology now.
That's like the old Paul Ryan comment about capitalism.
Yeah.
This offends my principles, but I have to abandon my principles to save the free market system. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
God, these guys. All right, let's talk about politicians for a second. Bring up this graphic. This is really interesting. This is a tweet by Joshua Reed Eagle. Do you know who that is? I don't know who this guy is.
I'm not sure.
He writes, Trump called Ron DeSantis a pedophile. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, is that because he was at the underage?
Yeah, because he was buying booze for kids.
That's not a
That is
pedophile.
so crazy. That's so dumb.
No,
Did he
he-
really say
he-
pedophile?
He was their teacher. He was.
Yeah, but that's not a pedophile.
Trump just insinuated that he might be a gay pedophile. That's
seems-
Did he say the term pedophile?
I can't remember. I just remember. He was showing all these pictures of DeSantis hanging out with these kids while he's their teacher.
They're not kids. They're like,
high schoolers.
were they actually high schoolers? Were
Yeah.
they of age?
Yeah, it was. I mean, no, they weren't of
Because
age.
like a pedophile is someone who is attracted to somebody like prepubescent. Actually, to be honest with you, a child, which is really disgusting. That's why pedophiles
then
need to be locked the hell up.
Maybe pedophile isn't the right word, but whatever the pedophile word for teenagers is, I think that's
They're
what Trump was
definitely
insinuating.
inappropriate, especially if you have a sexual relation, illegal. But I mean, my God. But I think he probably did allude to a pedophile. Okay.
Yeah, well,
So
and that's
Trump-
the thing. The students at that high school were Ron DeSantis. It was right after he left. Where was he at? Harvard. He was at Yale. Right after he finished up there, where so he gets the Ivy League education. He becomes a teacher. There's all these students that say he was a creep. There's all these students that say he was kind of a weirdo. There's all these students that say, This guy, there's a lot of stories there. It sounds like he wasn't just a normal history teacher. But you know what? Thank you, Ron DeSantis, for endorsing Donald Trump. happy to have your support.
Should we read Brad's comment?
Yeah.
It's $5. We should make him up it.
No. Bring them all in, even when he's playing cheapo.
He says, and Jesse wonders why DeSantis didn't give a glowing endorsement.
Yeah, that's true. But, it's almost, I mean, DeSantis wasn't exactly Mr. Nice Guy with Trump either. It was definitely more kid gloves than Trump was handling
what were
DeSantis.
What were you going to say, Dawson?
I was going to say something about DeSantis being a creep, but I seem to recall Trump saying some not uncreepish things before he was president. Like who was he even talking to when he said grab him by the P word?
Well, you can't say pussy on here?
Okay, I can? Pussy, yeah. He said grab him by the pussy. That's a little bit creepish. I don't know. Some people were saying he's a creep. Not me.
Dawson, that was a joke, right?
Not
that was
me.
a joke.
Well, I don't know if
I'm sure
it was a joke, but it's guy talk, right? Like,
yeah, it's still kind of creepy to the wrong people.
What did Brad do?
For the Jesse Tinfoil Club.
There you go.
Brad.
$5.
Yeah, thank
Just have to pressure him.
Look at that. Yeah, look at that social
Yeah.
pressure. By the way, I don't care what they give. There's no expectations. I feel bad because we keep talking about we're on the streak of Rumble rants, and I appreciate you guys doing it. I feel bad like pushing it because this is like all unexpected. So thank you very much for doing that. I forgot to say, this show. That tells the algorithm to share with more people. You guys know it. You guys are doing a good job, so I appreciate that. What are you saying?
The new YouTube channel.
We got to promote. We're going to have a new YouTube channel. So they go to just look up Truth Hurts Show, or what do they do?
I'm going to put a link.
We're going to put a link. Make sure you like YouTube. So, when we took the show independent, it was never really an Action for Liberty show, but it kind of was, So right now, this is a separate thing. We're going to build this into something really cool. Hopefully you guys will like it. Truth Hurts News. But it's going to take some time, okay? And so one of the things we got to do is we got to move things over to a new YouTube channel. We're not all in on Rumble. It's never good to be all in on just one social media network. I will say Rumble just got Barstool Sports on board. So a pretty huge thing. So we like Rumble, but we still want to have stuff on YouTube. We're definitely not all in on YouTube because those guys have censored us. So, yeah, Tucker says locker room talk. That's what the grab him by the pussy comment was.
Yeah, someone said
that was Billy Bush, by the way. That was like George W.'s nephew, I think.
If someone said that about my daughter, I'd be pissed.
He wasn't talking about someone
referring to a certain
specifically,
person.
no.
Not for
I mean,
$10.
Dawson, I get it if you want to be offended, but I mean, that was one of those things where
I'm not I don't
it was
have a
like
pussy.
so obviously established.
Hold on. We got interrupted by.
Yeah, we got interrupted.
We got interrupted.
Okay.
Let's do this, and then we'll get to
He
that.
says, hearing there is a viral outbreak in a homeless shelter in Minneapolis.
That I'm not knowing. So let's look.
Homeless encampment, he
look
said.
Look this up. What's the virus?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you want me to look it up?
No. I want to get to your point. What were you trying to say now? Were you offended by him making that comment?
I don't have a pussy. I'm not offended.
Yeah, but
So-
you were saying like if your daughter.
Yeah.
He wasn't even referring to a specific person. It was like locker room talk with a guy. Listen, that's why he didn't end up costing Donald Trump much.
Well, right.
Because
right.
people kind of have a lot of empathy. Like, listen,
And also it's
I
true
know
that-
I've said stuff around like the campfire with
Well,
guys.
and it's
I
true
wouldn't
that
wanna
women
know.
throw themselves onto celebrities. I mean, that's
that's very
that's
true.
it's not like that's a big shock or surprise. So of course that kind of stuff was going on.
Well, you've seen the video. There's a famous video of Trump. He's dancing with like these three gorgeous blondes, and he like pulls the one in. It's like that's what happens when you're a celebrity. Women just throw themselves at you. Not saying that's not condoning it, right? Just saying that happens. So he's just like talking himself up, but I mean, it didn't cost him in the end because it's guy talk, right? It's just unfortunate it gets out there. It was a good move
Not
by the
illegal to be a
Democrats.
player.
Yeah.
Not illegal to be. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Tucker says norovirus. They're already going to evict the place. Napkin 8 says they need to evict. Imagine paying property taxes with that happening.
Dude, I don't even know what to say.
Which one is no virus?
The homeless encampment.
Well, no. Which virus is no virus?
No real virus. I don't know.
I don't
about
know.
it.
Yeah, I don't know either.
We should figure out what that is before we.
Stomach flu.
Oh, that's not great.
I don't think we should do medical research live on air. We'll have Dr. Neil Shaw back on here.
Yeah, it's about
yes,
time.
right? Yes, Neil, get back on here. We need you. Tell us about these viruses.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go back to this tweet. This is pretty long. I don't know if it's a tweet. Looks like it's a tweet.
Yeah, it's a
got
tweet.
the blue check mark.
Yep.
Trump called Ron DeSantis a pedophile. Ron endorsed him. Trump demeaned Ted Cruz's wife. Ted endorsed him. Trump called Vivek Ramaswamy deceitful. Vivek endorsed him. Trump called Marco Rubio a scammer. Marco endorsed him. The GOP is plagued by weak men with no shame. It's made up of politicians who put their political careers above everything, including their personal honor and their oath to defend the Constitution. It's no wonder Trump had such a grip on the party. I think that's a damn good point. Honestly, if I'm telling you the truth, that is a great point. Mm-hmm. And someone sent this to us in a thread, and I commented, I'm like, yeah, that's bullshit. If someone said that to me, I'd tell them go F off, right?
Yeah.
But then I thought about it. I'm like, wait a second. Would Trump ever say that to a guy like me? He's saying it to the political types. Mm-hmm. These like swamp creatures, and I guess you got to maybe you put Vivek in that category. I think what he said to Vivek wasn't the biggest thing, but quite frankly, saying it to a bunch of politicians. I don't know. Would Trump say that to a normal, upstanding person? Because if he would, a normal, upstanding man would say, you can go F yourself. I'm not endorsing this guy. This guy's a piece of shit. But he's saying it to the worst scum of the earth who literally, it's a great point, they have no personal honor. Like after all that abuse that he did to Ron DeSantis, for him just to come back, it's such a beta move.
Oh yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. I think DeSantis, he had leverage. He had the opportunity to try to get something out of Trump. He could have said, "Let's have a sit down meeting. I'm going to force you to say that you're not going to touch gun rights. I'm going to force you to say that we're going to make this and this change because of COVID." DeSantis could have had an opportunity to really do something, but instead. I think DeSantis looks so happy in that video where he was dropping out, the happiest I've ever seen him because, it looked like the first time he could actually be relaxed a little bit. He was relieved that, okay, I don't need to keep the charade going on anymore. I kind of even agree with the tweet itself too, because I look at it too. I see these Tom Emmers of the world. I see all these different rhinos who are all getting out and endorsing Trump within the last couple of weeks. I just think, what a bunch of bitches.
Yeah,
because, I think the same thing. I think, I would never endorse somebody who was saying very, very nasty, untruthful things about me. I mean, in some of those cases, it was true. Some of the things he was saying about some of those people that were listed on that list there. But, it just shows how weak these politicians are in that it's all about power for them because it's not even about, having, a backbone to stand up to any of these things. And DeSantis had the opportunity a long time ago to really try to make this campaign competitive. DeSantis didn't want to make it competitive. He wanted to listen to his big donors. He didn't want to be a grassroots candidate. He wanted to be a candidate propped up by the super PAC puppets. Mm-hmm. So, that's the campaign he decided to run. Gave us a great idea of what to expect in 2028 from him. And I think he's probably burned every bridge, but I appreciate that he's gotten behind Trump because I think he knew it was the right thing to do. He didn't want Nikki Haley to continue this thing, and DeSantis also knew. And, I think I had even said on the show before, if DeSantis wants to save himself, drop out, endorse Trump. Now here we are, and, he's still got some things to do and things to, continue on in Florida, but I think this was the first step. He's got a few more steps to go through, though, before he's fully on Team MAGA again.
Yeah. I see Whiskey Tingle Foxtrot confirms it's a stomach bug. I don't know. Is he a biologist?
I don't know. Base Minnesota said, so this Joshua guy basically just explained how politics have worked since the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then North MN says, is this similar to talking bad about players on the other hockey team during the game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, K-Wall for life, 99% of it is kayfabe. And kayfabe, I hear that term in wrestling all the time. It's like a WWE thing. So, yeah, I mean, most of politics is professional wrestling. Most of the time it is. They're putting on a character. They're, saying what needs to be said for the camera. And then as soon as the camera's off, they're best friends. They're good buddies with the other side. They're totally working together. And, it just shows how these politicians really operate.
You got to read Billy's comment.
I know, Billy 22. I can hardly wait for MNGOP Chair David Hahn to unite around Trump.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait for that endorsement.
You should start making a public call for that.
Maybe. Well, I get it. He's got to be the chairman that you're not allowed to make an endorsement. It's still down technically to Trump and Nikki, but this should be the end of Nikki tonight. At least I'm hoping it's going to be. I don't know if you guys have predictions of what you think is going to happen. Like, because in Iowa, the discussion was, is Trump going to get 50%? Now the discussion is Trump going to get 60%?
Yeah.
So, I think Trump probably is going to reach right to that 60% mark. I'm guessing 60% Trump, 38% Haley, 0.5% Ryan Binkley, and 1.5% for the others. That because Vivek and Mike Pence and a couple others.
Don't ever stop.
Of course, I got to throw Binkley in there. He's going to get that 0.5%, and when Nikki Haley drops out, I'll still be saying that Binkley's still in the race. But the
And
Vivek's
Ada Hutchinson.
yeah,
right?
Asa. You look at those others; they're still going to be on the ballot. They're going to take a certain amount of votes, even if it's going to be minuscule. But that's going to happen. But I do think Trump is going to get over that 60%. Do you think Trump's getting 60% tonight?
It's hard to tell because, you look at the poll that shows the internals and he does so well with the Republican, registered Republicans. So I would make the argument, my gut tells me he's going to be in the high 50s. Okay. But I think there's a good argument to be made that he goes north of 60. If he goes north of 60, it's just an obliteration. But right now the polls show him 20 points up. What path is there for Nikki Haley? And this is where we want to go with the show today. Haley, my contention was Haley was going to do this for the long run because her handlers want somebody and there's anti-Trump. Okay. And we want to hear what you guys think in the comment section here. It's so easy to say that. It's a totally different story when you look at what's going on in the ground because there are actual human beings that are making the decisions, right? We often act like there's these puppet masters and they're pulling the strings. And yes, they are pulling strings of the politicians, but they're not pulling the strings of the people that decide in the end, right? Mm-hmm. This is like for you guys at home that maybe think that there's not much hope with politics anymore, that voting doesn't matter. It does matter. It really does. There's a lot of people trying to influence politics, interfere with an election. But in the end of the day, as long as we rise up and we continue to voice our beliefs, they can't overcome that, right? Mm-hmm. Unless they have some mind-controlling weapon, right? We still can rise up and be very successful. And so you're dealing with real human beings. And if Nikki Haley comes out of here tonight, as we predict, with less than 20 points or 20 points less than or more than 20 points less than Trump, I don't know how to say it, what I'm trying to say, just gets obliterated by Trump, it's just the natural tendency is people are going to continue going for the winner, the perceived winner. Mm-hmm. And he's out. Trump's literally, Nikki Haley can't do, the media's ignoring Nevada, by the way. It's hilarious. Yeah. Nikki Haley, as you alluded to, can't actually get any votes in Nevada. Mm-hmm. It's a caucus and a primary state, just like Minnesota. Yeah. But the caucus is what's going to matter. So Trump's already won Nevada. He's already 70 point. He's like a 70-point favorite anyhow. Mm-hmm. So he's going to win Nevada. Then he's beating Nikki Haley in South Carolina, her home state.
Yeah.
So where is there a chance for Nikki Haley after New Hampshire?
Right.
She needed to win tonight. I'm not even sure that would have helped. Well, it would have helped, but it wouldn't have secured her victory. So she has no path forward. And so even though these handlers want her in for the long game because they are trying to get rid of Trump in many regards, when no one attends her rallies anymore, she had a rally yesterday and some guy yells at her, "Will you marry me?" And Nikki goes, "Well, are you going to vote for me?" And he goes, "No, I'm voting for Trump." She goes, "You can get out of here." Like, at our own rallies. You got it. You can't even get all the people in your own rallies.
Yeah.
Those rallies won't even be attended. It'll be really sad. Mm-hmm. And so, she has to drop out after tonight, in my opinion. Even though those people want to push her, there's just no path forward.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's either tonight or it's tomorrow that she's going to drop out. Because if she wants to go to South Carolina just to get embarrassed and losing her home state, I think that is not going to be a good look, especially when you have both senators. You have Tim Scott and Lindsey Graham, and then you got all these different representatives. Nancy Mace, who was like a never Trumper. Nancy Mace was super, super anti-Trump, but principally she's looking at the options and says, well, I guess Trump is better than Nikki. I can't believe we're at this spot, but that's where we're at. So even Nancy Mace is out there supporting President Trump. So it's already locked up, and I don't think Nikki Haley wants to face the embarrassment of losing that badly in her home state. All of these politicians act tough until the very last minute. All of them. Even DeSantis was out there campaigning. Chris Christie was out there doing it too. They act tough, and they'll say, I'm in it to win it. I'm going to the convention. and then the very next day they drop out. And so that's going to be the case with Nikki. She might give a speech tonight that makes her people feel hopeful.
It's clear it's a two-person race
Right.
tonight, guys.
That's right. Yep, Trump and Binkley. And, because that's the thing. Nikki, she's totally toast. She's totally done. And I guess last prediction, do you think Dean Phillips will win tonight? Do you think Dean Phillips actually has a chance to beat Joe Biden?
The interesting
I
thing
think
is-
Biden's probably going to win, but I'm hoping Dean Phillips beats
But
Biden.
see, here's the thing: is no one knows. Because,
Oh, we have to interrupt.
Go ahead.
JL Jess, $50 says, howdy, April. Just jumping in to give you a Rumble rant. Looking forward to seeing you on January 30th at the dinner. Keep up the great work. Nice.
Oh, well, thank you. I have no
Yeah,
idea who
thank you.
JL Jass is. I love it when we, everyone's got these handles and we don't know who it is, but you're talking about a super secret meeting, by the way. Very super secret. So I know what list you're on if you're coming to that meeting. You almost spilled the beans. Now people are going to wonder what that meeting is, but I can't tell people. It's super secret. I can tell you, Bridget. Don't worry about it.
I think I got.
Jesse, actually, I need you.
I think I know.
You think you know? Jesse, I need you on the 30th. Will you be there on the 30th? No, you don't even know what
My
I'm
name
talking
is
about.
Jen.
we will have to
Sister's
talk
name is
about it.
Mary.
Oh, hey, Jen.
I was like, is it Jen?
I
or
do
Jen?
know you're coming. Thank you so much. Gotta love our people. We have the best people on the planet. Sorry if you guys didn't get invited. There's a reason. No, I'm just kidding. Now I'm in a really
K-Wall says
weird
double
position.
secret
What's
probation.
that?
K-Wall says double secret probation.
Yeah, something like
K-Wall,
that.
I know you were invited to it, so don't even say anything.
Alley Cat says about Nikki, she's waiting to see if Trump gets locked up, and Billy22 says no one attended Biden's rallies.
Yeah, I mean, partially because of COVID. Because remember, his people thought they
Well,
would die if they went
that's
outside,
true.
right? Although I wouldn't say he brings the energy. By the way, Trump's speech, some of his speeches in New Hampshire, some of the greatest ever. I mean, hilarious. That guy is so talented. I have no idea to answer your question because there's no polling. There's no reliable polling in New Hampshire. And so, you go by the news stories. We're not on the ground in New Hampshire, nor would we spend the resources there. So, I don't know. I guess I could see him winning, but
Yeah, but there, I know also, there was that one story that was out there that said Dean Phillips holds an event that nobody shows up to. And, they posted a picture of him looking real sad with his campaign bus and everything. But then, you do a little bit of digging into the story and you find out he was just, he goes to another event. He says, oh, I hear all these students are coming out. I'm going to bring them hot chocolate and coffee. They ended up going through a different entrance door. So, it was just he was at the wrong place is all that happened. He was going to meet a bunch of people, but he was just in the wrong spot. So it wasn't like he held an event and then nobody showed up. It was just the media took the opportunity. Let's get a quick picture of him and let's run this story. And, because that's probably been the biggest story of his entire campaign, which is, that's a bummer. But, I mean, you got to take the news where you can get it.
yeah, that's not a good news story.
No.
All right. Okay. So here's where I want to go with this conversation, and definitely want to hear from you guys at home. Okay. So the field's going to be cleared out tonight. Okay. Maybe Nikki waits till tomorrow, but we'll all know at some point tonight New Hampshire's gone. Trump by big margin. There's no GOP competitors. They all suspended their campaigns, right? Which means you can unsuspend it. Okay. But something monumental will have to happen. So there are a lot of things that could happen here. We do know there's 4 cases, criminal cases. There's more cases. There's E. Jean Carroll or whatever her name is. What is her name? E. Jean?
Yeah, E. Jean Carroll.
Carroll? E. Jean Carroll. Crazy woman. But there's 4 cases, 4 indictments, 91 charges against Donald Trump. Okay? They only need to get him on 1 charge, right? The odds are they'll get him on 1 charge. Now, will that happen before election? Who knows? The odds, in my opinion, are against that happening before Election Day. Okay? All right. So let's ignore the big one that's probably been talked to death. The other one that, to me, seems possible is that the Supreme Court, the robed gangsters in the Supreme Court literally decide Trump can't be on the ballot. Because people are like, oh, Trump's got 3 appointees on there, and you got Alito, and you got Clarence Thomas. So you got the 5. I know it's funny, John Roberts appointed by George W. Bush, but you just assume he's going to vote the wrong way on everything these days. So there's 5-4 court. And yesterday we just saw that the Supreme Court rejected, no, not rejected, that's the wrong term, issued a restraining order against, a TRO against the state of Texas for enforcing the border. Right, this is a huge story, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the program. So, and that was Amy Coney Barrett that voted with the left wing of the court.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no guarantee that the court is going to allow Trump to be on the ballot. Okay? So that's one big key thing. Here's another one, and I totally forgot to put this in the show notes, Dawson, but there's a story that broke in New Hampshire of robocalls, and it's an AI-generated Joe Biden. Basically, what did the message say? Did you read the story?
Yeah, right. It said, don't vote in the Democratic primary. Instead, just wait until November. So, yeah, it was basically a robocall saying, this is Joe Biden. Don't vote in the New Hampshire Democratic primary. So, you know, and it's a really interesting thing because if you look at Minnesota, for example, we have an article about it from a while back, but, you know, Walter Hudson had pushed a bill that was going to make AI political speech illegal in the state of Minnesota. And, you know, that was a bill that was unanimously passed in the House, unanimously in the Senate, except for Weissenberg. Weissenberg was the only one who voted against that bill because it was going to be a violation of free speech. But, you know, it's interesting because I'm not exactly sure how we want to legislatively attack the issue of AI, and I'm not exactly sure what the best way of solving it would be. But most of the time, at least for what's going on currently, usually you can tell if something's AI or not just by doing a little bit of digging. But this is an interesting situation where
let's pull this up.
robocalls, you know, a robocall is naturally going to sound robotic, so you're not thinking about it being AI. So it is interesting, you know, who put this together? I'm not sure if we know the answer yet of who put this robocall together, but obviously some bad faith actor who wanted to screw around and mess around with this primary.
This is according to NBC News. New Hampshire Attorney General's office says it's investigating what appears to be an unlawful attempt at voter suppression after NBC News reported on a robocall impersonating President Joe Biden that told recipients not to vote in Tuesday's presidential primary. They actually have the audio here. Scroll down there, Dawson. Here's the audio. What do you think the odds are that there's not an ad on this thing?
Yeah.
A bunch of malarkey.
Nope.
We know the value of voting Democratic when our votes count. It's important that you save your vote for the November election. We'll need your help in electing Democrats up and down the ticket. Voting this Tuesday only enables the Republicans in their quest to elect Donald Trump again. Your vote makes a difference in November, not this Tuesday. If you would like to be removed from future calls, please press 2 now.
I mean,
a victory for the
that sounds
Biden
like Joe
administration.
Biden. Now,
Yeah.
they're really good with audio. They're also getting really good with video, too.
Yeah, it was a little slow. You know, it was a pause.
That's Joe
Donald
Biden.
Trump.
That is Joe Biden.
Yeah,
That's Joe Biden.
I don't know. I would be able to listen to that and probably know that this is auto-generated and everything. It doesn't
you're not
seem...
the average voter, Jesse.
Yeah, and I imagine, yeah, you know, some old voters who just put the, you know, home phone next to their ear, you know, they might think, you know, this sounds pretty real.
Jesse, I would hear that and think that's real.
Yeah. I mean, I would think that it would make sense that that's a Biden robocall, you know, but I mean, not necessarily the message, but I could see them putting someone together like that where it's his voice. But
Correct.
yeah, I mean, it is pretty nuts because it sounds fairly realistic, but and you know, the message is interesting to tell people don't vote in the Democratic primary because I think that the person who that helps out the most is Dean Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only, you know, if they're convincing Biden people to sit this one out, and I'm sure there's going to be a few Biden voters who don't see the story that it was a robocall, that it was AI. So they might just get that call and say, well, hey, Biden's telling me to skip it. I'm not going.
Okay, well, let me throw out a conspiracy. This
Yeah.
is not vetted. This is just something I created on the spot. What if the feds were behind this so that there's an excuse why Biden didn't win tonight, and it gives them a reason, same thing with like the Patriot Act, to go really hard in the paint against AI.
Maybe. And yeah, I mean, they're definitely looking for an excuse for Biden, you know, for his results that are going to be coming in tonight because it's not going to be a good look for him. So, you know, it could very well be that they want to use that as an example and a pretext to, you know, be able to put in the AI Patriot Act So, maybe that is coming down the line. But, that's the thing. We can't trust someone like Joe Biden, who doesn't even know the first thing about artificial intelligence, to be trying to regulate it. That is not a good idea. And that's the same problem I have with the state of Minnesota. I look at all these legislators, I go, these people don't know what the hell they're talking about. I don't want these people making laws about this. And it's the same thing federally, so I hope that's not the case.
Okay, so let me throw this at you. Now, this is not AI. This is the most ridiculous case ever, probably in the history of the world. Ever. 100%. Okay, maybe I'm going a little too crazy on that. But this guy shares. He doesn't create. He shares this, I guess you would call it a meme, saying, text your vote in for Hillary. And this is prosecuted in, I think, Manhattan, maybe it's Brooklyn, but somewhere in New York City. He's prosecuted and sentenced 7 months in prison for basically what they call voter suppression. It was a joke. Everyone could see it's a joke, but you don't get justice in Manhattan or New York City.
Yeah.
I keep saying Manhattan.
Does that guy have a lot of following? Or was he
he had a lot of following, but I don't know if it's necessarily politics. And there's no even proof that it swayed any certain person. By the way, if you literally think you can vote by texting, I don't think you should be voting, honestly, right? What's the foul here? So anyhow, that guy goes to prison. So they make a case out of something that's so ridiculous. A robocall, it's a shut and dry case. So when you look at these laws, and I'm glad you brought that up, Minnesota does tackle law, and what was problematic about Minnesota's law, and we pushed back at Walter Hudson on this one, was that they combined deep fake sex videos with politics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And it was
Those
so
should
broad.
not have been this. Like, everyone agrees. Yeah, big problem with the sex video, right?
Right. And, all it said in the political section was so broad. It said,
So
quote,
broad.
like, could influence the upcoming election. So if anything can influence an election, anything, it just sounds to me like a court could interpret that to mean, any kind of meme, any kind of deep fake, any kind of anything, even if it's not intended to be for electoral purposes. Sometimes you're just making fun of a politician, but it's just scary that that's the kind of anti-free speech things that they want to push. And, I know that AI is difficult, but to know what we're looking at, if anything's true, but I'd rather have, the dangerous freedom than, safe and secure and, tyranny, because I'd rather have to be able to research and do my own looking into things and figure out if something's real or not than just having the government put in a blanket ban on this.
Wouldn't that be a great name for a podcast, Dangerous Freedom? Has anyone ever done that? That's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe.
So I've rarely used that term, and that's a great term, and I'm glad you brought that up. Because I would much prefer Dangerous Freedom.
Yeah.
These robocalls, I think, are really lame. If they're using AI to do it, there are so many cooler things that AI can do.
That's where I'm going with this, Dawson.
It exists right now, the technology to be on a phone, like receive a phone call, have Joe Biden say, "Hi, this is Joe Biden. Tell me your thoughts as a voter." And then you can be like, "Oh, well, blah, 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 blah." And then he will listen to that and respond to it like a human would. No problem. That's like super easy to do now. You just put it through ChatGPT and
much
then
easier
respond.
to catch.
What?
Much easier to catch in the act, in my opinion.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that this example of one is either just the beginning, but also really lame because it sounded dumb too. It was like, why would Joe Biden say, "Don't go vote"? What?
Well, okay. Well, and obviously, I guess it doesn't even matter because, like, most people that get that robocall, I don't know if they're going to question that. They just know that they were told something by a person. By the way, think about this. Fucking Joe Biden says put on a cloth mask, and they all did it. So they have huge faith in authority figures. Why wouldn't they follow the orders to stay at home?
I'm sure some stupid people would, yeah. Definitely.
Look at how many people wear masks, cloth masks on the left.
Yeah.
They're rule followers. That was one of the old things about conservatives. They were more closely the rule followers. Traditional leftists used to be more anti-authoritarian. They used to rage against the machine. Now they're raging for the machine. What were you going to say, Bridget?
I
I was just going to read Brad's comment. It's just interesting how many jobs AI is going to replace. He said, Dawson is correct. We are in testing with an AI to answer all of our inbound office calls. Like, that's crazy.
That's
all
a
those
great
people
And
that
they're thinking the same thing with like fast food that I've seen.
Yeah,
they
it's
put out
insane.
those like robots to take people's orders instead. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely happening. And then when the automated driving comes out all the way, and the truckers will lose their jobs. And,
No, the freaking machines are going to take over. I'm telling you what.
Maybe.
Here's where I was going with this, guys. Okay. Can we just all agree? And I want to hear what you guys think at home here. Can we all agree that there are very powerful forces that don't want Donald Trump in the White House? Can we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Like literally,
kind of scary.
really don't want it. Okay. Can we also agree that those powerful forces are already interfering with the election? Can we agree on that? Is this controversial? Dawson, you're more of the neutral ground here.
I mean, are they all? I guess it kind of depends, because isn't that like what a campaign is saying, don't vote for this
sorry.
guy.
Let me
No, but like,
rephrase.
the courts
Powerful-
are interfering.
Yeah, powerful forces inside of our government, or at least government structure. Can we agree that they're at least interfering already in this election?
Like the
Criminal prosecutions, like no former president's ever been prosecuted for a crime, and now Donald Trump's being prosecuted for 91. Can we agree that that is coming from some powerful forces
And
in our
they're
government?
trying to take him off the ballot. If that's
Trying to
not
take him off
trying
the
to
ballot.
manipulate the election, then I don't know what
Can
is.
you concede and at least agree with me on that there are powerful forces in our government? 2020, we had the FBI literally talk to social media saying, bury this Hunter Biden story, it's fake news.
I can agree that it's interfering, but
Okay.
I can't agree that it's unjust.
People
what
in the
they're trying
comments are
to do.
saying yes, 100% yes.
I'm not saying, yeah, obviously you guys do. Dawson, I'm trying to shape the young minds of the next generation here. He's just playing the deep state role here. Okay, so if we can agree on that, and we know AI has amazing ability, I mean, this might have been just a testing ground right here. I think there is a good chance that the intelligence apparatus does a deep fake as the October surprise. And I don't know what that is. Maybe it's some comment that will be attributed, and the media will fall for this. Right. They'll be pushing each other out of the way just to get this to the newsroom. That Trump said something that's going to crush his campaign.
But you think they're going to use AI? Is that what you're just saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
That they're going to attribute some comment, maybe some video of Donald Trump and sync him. And what's really interesting, I love how you bring up like the Minnesota legislation. They might even put this on some poor sap or a couple people.
Yeah.
They might actually get them to do the work. And just like in Gretchen Whitmer, the apparent assassination attempt on Gretchen Whitmer, the feds, and January 6th, if we're being perfectly honest, will be pushing this to happen with suspects that they're going to frame for, right? So they're going to push this thing onto the American people with very limited time for this to come out as, artificial intelligence. I mean, Trump won't be able to respond in enough time, and enough of the news media will run it, and it could sink the election. And I don't know what that is. I mean, with Trump, it's going to have to be something that probably hurts the independent voters and a segment of his base that demoralizes them. Like some kind of comment or some statement.
You don't think there's like a COVID point two or something like that coming instead?
That's hard to do. I mean, I agree that that's a
Not
potentiality.
COVID, but like something that they're brewing up.
But just think about like how easy it would be to just plant some comment, video, or statement on
But
Trump.
would that many diehard Trumpers? I guess. I mean, there are a lot of diehard Trumpers. Would that, they fall for that?
Maybe not the diehard Trumpers, but
But there's a lot of
everything
That's
comes
the thing,
down to the
we're
margins
so
here.
skeptical now, so that
Yeah.
if we saw
No,
some
we're not
video,
skeptical yet.
well, I mean, we are.
20, yeah,
you know.
we are. Yeah. We're
Yeah.
not.
But
gonna
that's
do
the thing. So in the situation where they try to push some deep fake AI video of Trump, I think a lot of us would already,
be like, whatever.
our alerts would be up. Yeah, we'd already be like, this is fake. We'd call it fake before we know, just to be sure, because I think it'd be tough to pull off. But I mean, you can't put anything past these Democrats. I mean, they'll sit there and lie about Trump on every little thing. They don't care how much they're lying. They just hate him so much that they think it's justified.
What does
think that-
Brad have to
He
say?
says Jake is the newest member of the Jesse Tinfoil Hat Club. Who are these mysterious forces?
Brad, stop
that's-
talking about. Wait, what do you
Thank
say,
Brad.
Dawson?
I said thank you, Brad. That's kind of what I'm getting
No,
at.
bullshit, Brad. Calling you out on this one, Brad. Stop getting your notes from CNN here.
Yeah.
Who are these mysterious forces? I don't know. 2020, a fully legitimate story that Hunter Biden's laptop was recovered by some tech service, and it's got all this incriminating evidence on it. And 51 intelligence officials, including 2 former CIA directors, say this is Russian disinformation. Who are these forces? I don't know. Let's look at those guys. Those 50-some people that wrote that story. Like, this is literally happening to us. So why wouldn't they just create a deep fake? It just seems so obvious to me that is in their whole hand of cards, one of the easiest things they could do. And it would probably work.
I think that
Billy 22
more likely than that is just a good old-fashioned assassination.
That's what North
But yeah,
End
but
says.
assassination makes that works against them, because then the assassination makes Trump a martyr.
Yeah.
So
Right, but
But
then
then the
rise
movement
up and
moves.
go
The
cra-
movement's
yeah.
really like Trump says this. He's like, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you,
But
and
then
I'm
who are
just
they-
staying in the way.
who are
It's
they gonna
true.
latch on
If
to?
you make him a martyr, the MAGA movement grows even larger
Who
than
are-
if Trump
who are
gets
they gonna
back.
latch
in.
on
that,
to?
or but it
Trump
could
is-
also split. Without Trump, Trump is the unifying factor for MAGA. That's what MAGA can all say. Okay, this is the first thing we all agree to is Trump. And without Trump, things would get pretty split up pretty quickly, because we see that. You look at the House of Representatives, you look at the difference between a Matt Gaetz and a Thomas Massey and a Chip Roy and a Marjorie Taylor Greene. If there wasn't a Trump, all these people would be going in all their different ways. The grassroots conservatives would, kind of, unless we could find someone else to unify behind. But that
You
would
don't
be
have
very
to
difficult.
always unify behind one person, Jesse. It doesn't
Sometimes
work that way.
it's just the easiest way.
Sure, it's easier, but
Once
it
you
doesn't
got a
have
guy
to.
at the top that you're like, okay, this is a guy we can all trust. Let's run with that. But without
But they're all
without
going to
that,
still be pledging allegiance to Donald Trump, the martyr, right?
right. But then the problem is, if you don't have a leader, you have an anti-leader. So it's basically just
$10 for bread.
that you're opposed to whatever the Democrats are pushing.
No,
at that
I don't.
time.
I don't want his money. Take that money.
We have to.
Put that money back.
You
I don't
said
want
it was
Brad
5, I
Ganser's
had to
money.
$10. I'm going to read it. The truth is, with a little thought and investigation, we know who these mysterious forces are.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I owned you, Brad, and now you're coming back. Oh yeah, you were just playing devil's advocate there. Nice try.
Isn't
Refund his money. I don't want his $10. Can you do that?
I want his-
we don't know how
I
to
want
do
his
that. Sorry, Brad. I
$10.
guess we have to keep it.
Trump, the reason that Trump's doing so well is because he sold himself as he's the reason that the MAGA movement exists, right? And that's the one rallying thing that they all have together. If Trump is gone, what are they going to go to Nikki Haley? What are they going to go to frickin' Ron DeSantis when he comes back in?
But it puts him on this pedestal that he'll never achieve.
Yeah.
Because it'll be so obvious that his views and what he represented was so powerful they had to kill him for it. So it does not work. Assassination doesn't work. I've long argued, I don't know if you can threaten Donald Trump with assassination. I would think they'd go after his family. That's how you get him, right?
Yeah.
I still think that assassinating Donald Trump would be their first play because, even if he is a martyr, you can't have a martyr as president because he's dead. He's gone.
Yeah, but I think they're more worried about the years of what that movement
in my time around, I've carried out my fair number of assassinations, and it's just how it works. That's how it ends up going.
Well done, Dawson.
Thank you.
Certainly assassinations, and I do want to hear what you guys think at home, but I do think assassinations got to be on the table of what they could potentially do.
Definitely.
But to me, it's that's a big one. When they stage assassinations for JFK and RFK, these are tough things. There's a lot of resources that go into the cover-up. If it was AI-generated October surprise, not a lot of stuff that needs to be done. By the way,
AI-generated.
I thought of this theory this morning, so don't come at me like this is something that was well thought out. I'm just throwing things out there. I read the story about the robocalls. I go, geez, this is probably the feds.
You want a really big brain fart?
Yeah,
Or
go ahead.
Brain blast, whatever.
Brain blast.
Imagine Donald Trump gets assassinated, gets deep faked, gets his AI voice replicating him throughout the rest of his thing, whatever, and then way before the actual election happens, comes out that he died of natural causes, and they have a fake body and everything. You could have someone living...
if that's going to happen, they're going to do that with Biden.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah, it'd be way more likely that
They already have.
that they're rolling out a fake Biden. I used to see those, pictures and videos like back in 2016 of like, look, Hillary has a body double. And then you come to find out she actually does have a body double. And, her body double used to have a profile on Facebook and everything. I found it before it ended up being deleted. And so, this kind of stuff's out there. I wouldn't be shocked if Joe Biden has a body double that, goes to different things or has to poses him for different events. If you're the president, sometimes you got to be multiple places at the same time. And
Walks
if you
up
don't
and
need to
downstairs.
speak, you can just sit there and, and
Plus, you got to look at the ears. That's
right.
The,
Well,
that's the key.
but the body double also, it's like, Joe Biden's gonna fall asleep no matter where he's at anyway. So the body double, what an easy job. You just go to some speech, fall asleep. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, Joe Biden's body double is just two pillows under the
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What other story do we want to talk about?
Yeah,
The
this
Texas-
Marjorie Taylor Greene thing is pretty interesting.
Yeah, let's go to that.
Yeah, let's pull
looked
up
at
that
this
video there, line 11, Dawson, because Mike Johnson is now getting threats from Marjorie Taylor Greene for him to be vacated as speaker because of the deal that he pushed where he is attaching the Ukrainian money to the border deal. And yep, that's the video right there. So I said we check this out and hear what
Okay,
Marjorie
let's
Taylor
watch
Greene
this.
has to
I haven't
say.
seen this yet, so I'm kind of curious.
Get your take on this spending conversation taking place over the weekend. We just heard from Senator Mike Lee. He doesn't have any text yet in terms of a spending deal. You said you were willing to go to the mat and vacate the chair, fire House Speaker Mike Johnson, if in fact he agreed to another continuing resolution. Where are you on this?
No, I said that if he made that border deal, where if he passes that Senate border deal or so-called border deal, it's really an amnesty deal where Democrats are going to bring in millions and millions of illegals and turn them into Democrat voters. That's their plan, is to replace Americans with millions and millions of illegal aliens. And it upset me so much that this is the deal that Republicans in the Senate are making, and they want to do this in exchange for $60 billion more dollars for Ukraine. Maria, our country's broke. We're like a corporation on the verge of bankruptcy with $34 trillion in debt. The border crisis is a national security crisis that has Americans everywhere. It doesn't matter how they vote. Americans everywhere are sick and tired and fed up with it. And we could talk about the numbers and we could talk about all the things that produce daily outrage. But the real situation here is that the Republican Speaker of the House and any Republican or really anyone elected to serve in the United States Congress should be supporting, protecting America's national security interests, and they would never vote for that deal. And that's why I told Speaker Johnson, if he made that deal in exchange for $60 billion for Ukraine, I would vacate the chair, and I still stand by those words.
Amen.
Well, he seems to be throwing cold
Interesting
water.
stuff. What do you think at this point?
Yeah, and there's one more thing they say after that, where basically, unless migrant, and what's a part of this package deal, where you are not allowed to try to start deporting any of these illegals unless you have, for 7 days straight, 5,000 people coming across the border illegally every single day. So only in that kind of situation can ICE actually try to mitigate this problem. And it shows how weak Mike Johnson is, because if that's the deal, that he's able to negotiate with Biden and Schumer, it shows me how weak and pathetic he is, because if I was the Speaker of the House, there would be a whole new set of negotiations where we're not even talking about a continuing resolution. There is zero continuing resolution that's on the table with me. And it sounds like that's probably about the same case with Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and some of these others. Because what you need to do is single-issue bills, and you need to secure the border. You can't be sitting there giving all these Democratic priorities what they want, because the Democrats, there's a reason why all the Democrats were supporting this bill. There was only 2 Democrats in the House who voted against this bill. And then when you look at, the Republicans who voted against it, there was 100 and some odd number. I got to say, for Minnesota, Tom Emmer voted for it. But Finstad, Fishbach, and Stauber all voted against it, which I was surprised to see. Oh, okay, I guess they're taking the right vote. But it's all because they see it as politically advantageous. They're voting the right way because they know that the voters are paying attention to them. They are scared as hell about a primary or anything coming after them because they know they're rhinos.
Well, I mean, Fishbach actually has a primary challenge.
Right.
Yeah,
yep.
we've
So
had Steve Boyd on the podcast. So.
yeah, and that's right. So I think that maybe some of these other the Finstads, the Staubers, they might say, well, we don't want Fishbach to have to stand alone on this. We'll split up our votes here so that we can all explain what we're doing here. But yeah, my perspective is I think it's about time that Mike Johnson gets removed as Speaker. He has had 2 opportunities to negotiate some of these continuing resolutions. He has failed both times. Chip Roy has also talked about vacating the speaker. It might be a whole different set of players. I know Matt Gaetz probably isn't thrilled about what's going on in D.C. either. Mike Johnson has proven himself to not be a very effective leader. He's allowed for the caucus to remove George Santos. They've lost numbers since he's been the leader. And
McCarthy's gone too. So
yeah, and McCarthy's gone, and I think another guy had resigned too to become a university president. So he hasn't done a good job of convincing them to stay in Washington D.C. to finish their job, to do what they're supposed to do. And I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is right to say that we need to vacate him when he's attaching these bills. When you're attaching the border to the Ukraine spending, how are you supposed to have an honest conversation about things when you have 5, 10, 20 different bills all on the same vote? It's not a good way of doing business. Mike Johnson has failed us. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to get him out of there.
Let's talk about the border. This is a story from the Austin American-Statesman. This is not over. Greg Abbott, Ken Paxton react to ruling on Texas razor wire on border. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this story at this point. Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Attorney General Ken Paxton are weighing in after the U.S. Supreme Court decided in a 5-4 ruling that the Biden administration could authorize the removal of razor wire barriers installed by Texas along the border with Mexico. Okay, basic story here, right? Texas, which has the longest border, right, with Mexico, literally says, you guys aren't doing the job, you're not protecting the laws of the land, and therefore we're going to enforce it, and he activates the Texas National Guard, okay? They put up wires, and the Supremes say, at least in a temporary restraining order, that those wires can be removed by the Biden administration, by the Border Patrol, which is under the guidance of the Biden administration. Talking to X, formerly Twitter, Abbott said the approach was an, quote, effective deterrent despite the Eagles Pass area, where 29 miles of fencing was set up at his order, seeing a surge of migrants in late December and early January. Do I need to tell people how bad the border is? I think you guys all understand at this point. Like, I think of us here in Minnesota, the border is just not a huge issue usually. I don't talk about it too often. Although I actually served on the U.S.-Mexican border. You guys know that?
No.
Yeah, in 2006, I was on the U.S.-Mexican border. Sorry, 2007? 2007. This was under Bush in the Army. Las Cruces, New Mexico, not Texas. But
and yeah, it was under Bush where the Department of Homeland Security was established.
Yeah, it would have been.
And was ICE or whatever the immigration force at that time, was that under DOD?
No. This was George W. Bush saying activating Guard to supplement Border Patrol to help secure the border. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I've actually literally been on the border. So I know the situation. I was in the high crossing area. Las Cruces was at that time wasn't big. But anyhow, I don't talk about the issue too much because we're like migrants they get up to Missouri and they're like, oh, it's starting to get colder. And then they go to Iowa. They go, it's really cold. They go, yeah, those lakes are frozen. We're not going any further, right? So we don't deal with this as much. Brad Ganser, Jake, your trip to Tijuana does not constitute border service. By the way, as an officer, I actually had it pretty good when I was down in Las Cruces. By the way, also the Bears were in the Super Bowl. Just imagine the world that I'm in. I hadn't seen the Bears in the Super Bowl since I was like 5 years old. And then all of a sudden, I get activated to go down the border when the Bears make the Super Bowl against the Colts. And then, of course, lost. Despite getting the opening kickoff. Devin Hester ran back the opening kickoff. What a game. Paxton added that the decision allows Biden to continue his illegal effort to aid the foreign invasion of America. That's what is going on. It's a foreign invasion. So this is actual tweet from Attorney General Ken Paxton. The Supreme Court's temporary order allows Biden to continue his illegal effort to aid the foreign invasion of America. The destruction of Texas's border. Shoot, I clicked on the link and now I lost it. I'm going to go back to the original story. The destruction of the Texas border barriers will not help enforce the law or keep American citizens safe. This fight is not over, and I look forward to defending our state's sovereignty. Okay, so here's the question I have. If they're already not following the feds, right, why are they going to follow 9 robed gangsters? Actually, in this case, 5 robed gangsters. Like, why? They're already saying federal government, screw you, we're enforcing the border. I have no idea where this thing goes.
Yeah.
But we got a showdown right now on the Texas border. And good for them. And this is what I brought up last week in the show about why I'm optimistic on the future is when we rise up like voices of common sense, whatever the hell you want to call our movement. I usually call it Liberty Movement, but nowadays it's like the common sense movement. When we rise up and activate ourselves, like get mobilized, like going to the caucus here in Minnesota on February 27th, big things can happen. You can stand up to the federal government. And essentially, you shouldn't have these Ivy League lawyers who are wearing robes determine what's going on the border. That's not the job of the Supreme Court, by the way. People think that it's supposed to just determine the constitutionality. That wasn't what it was initially chartered to do. So, I have no idea what the play is going to be in Texas, but this thing is not over, and we'll be on this story a lot, I'm sure, in the next couple of months, and it's going to play out to Election Day for sure.
And it will be interesting to see if they decide to abide by what the Supreme Court had said, because the only time I can think of, I'm just trying to think historically, when can I think of a time where the Supreme Court ruling was made and then it wasn't abided to? I remember Andrew Jackson had gone against what the Supreme Court had ruled as far as removing and relocating Native American tribes. So that was one of those things where it seemed as if Andrew Jackson just pushed ahead his agenda and didn't care. But one point I want to make about the razor wire is, do you remember they had razor wire surrounding our Capitol building after January 6th?
Good point.
So they have razor wire, for against our own citizens to keep us out of the people's house. But it would be inhumane to put that on our southern border. It would be inhumane to use that against illegal immigrants. It just shows that it's rules for the citizens, and then they let these illegals get away with anything. So
that's
I think
really, really good
right,
point,
because
Jesse.
they use this razor wire against the people, but against illegals, oh no, that's inhumane. I mean, what a joke! It shows you that these politicians, the Great Replacement theory, isn't a theory; it's real. That's what they're
got to
doing.
be what's happening. You can't explain this any other way. Like they are allowing this to happen.
Yeah,
it's sad. It's really sad,
And Mike Johnson is partially to blame too. It's a lot of these Republicans. Anyone who voted for that continuing resolution that funds the government up until I'm not sure if it's February or March, but whenever it is, whoever voted for that, they're rhinos. They're guilty of this because we can't allow our country to continue to go this way. And what's the point of having a Republican House if it's for nothing?
A couple other headlines I want to get through. This is from the Daily Wire. The FBI said there were pipe bombs on January 6th. Evidence points to a cover-up, Congressman says. They're quoting Thomas Massey here. Democrats have strained to make the case that January 6th was a violent insurrection, even resorting to false claims such as that police officers were murdered to make their case. But they have gone out of their way to avoid one incident that would seemingly best make their point. The two purported pipe bombs outside the Democrat National Committee and the Republican National Committee. Now a Republican lawmaker who poured over thousands of hours of video footage and other evidence from January 6th alleges that the bombs may have been planted with the involvement of law enforcement. He believes Democrats have backed off from the incidents for fear that the truth would be discovered. Quote, "This is an ongoing cover-up at this point," said Representative Thomas Massey, a member of the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government. If there were indeed two operable pipe bombs, that would be the biggest threat that existed on January 6th. It doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't be promoting that threat to advance the narrative unless they had something to do with the pipe bombs and they're trying to memory hole the whole thing to avoid embarrassment. What the hell do you make of that story? I mean, this is kind of breaking because apparently it was just released yesterday that there was video that was withheld from the January 6th committee. So, my God.
Yeah.
I mean, are we ever going to learn all the story behind January 6th?
I don't know if we'll ever get all of it, but I mean, now that Republicans have taken the House, it looks like we're making some steps, and they were able to uncover some of the things, and I appreciate what Thomas Massey is putting out there, because this would be a huge story if there were pipe bombs going to bomb the RNC, going to bomb the DNC. That's a huge story, and that would be a perfect example of domestic terrorism. That would perfectly fit the definition. But there's a reason that it was suppressed. We don't get to fully know exactly why it was suppressed, but there's obviously a reason why the media didn't find any interest in this. Whether that's because it was going to be by actors who were set up to go there by the government, whether it's because it was I don't know. I don't want to guess too much, but I mean, there's obviously some reason that they covered this up, because if it wasn't, if this was a Trump person, if this was a MAGA person who was going to blow up the RNC and the DNC, we would have heard nonstop about it ever since it happened. But since we haven't, that means there's more to the story.
Remind me to show you. Have to show this meme I've got on Jan 6th.
Yeah.
I cannot do it on air.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good, though.
Yeah? All right.
Yeah, don't let me forget.
Sounds
Last story
good.
I want to cover. Biden PAC pays $1 million to social media influencers. And you were pushing back on me on this story, Dawson, so I'd love to debate you on it.
Okay.
So apparently the Biden PAC, what is this one called? This is from Post Millennial. By the way, Post Millennial is killing it, man. I'm getting by the way, Tucker, who helps share some stories with us, is sharing that a lot. I mean, they are killing it. I'll just put it that way. Let's see here. I hate the ads, though. Let's just hate ads. It has been revealed that the pro-Biden super PAC, Priorities USA, has handed out $1 million to content creators on TikTok in order to reach young voters. The effort has been part of a larger Democrat strategy to get young voters to the polls in battleground states, according to reports from Politico. Priorities USA is spending $1 million for its first ever creator program with over 150 influencers on the social media platform. I just think, I'm just going to put it this way. Is there a more disgusting thing out there than getting paid to promote a frickin' candidate?
Yeah. That's the thing. It reminds me of what they did with Fauci and COVID and everything, because there were a bunch of social media influencers who were being paid to promote the vaccine, who were being paid to promote masks and social distancing and all that. Like, I remember there was this one guy, I used to watch his video, it's all like comedy stuff, it's all just funny stuff, and then you could see he got some big bucks because all of a sudden he's got this Fauci interview, and it's like, where did this thing come from? So I know that, it's very prevalent. I know that the government is always looking to buy out some of these social media people, some of these TikTok stars, because then they can co-opt them, they can use them for whatever, message they want to use them for. And, they know that a lot of the people who are making TikToks, they're people who crave attention. They're people who crave approval. They're people who want to, who don't necessarily have a whole lot of strong opinions for themselves, because what are they trying to do? They're trying to impress the general public. And you don't impress the general public by, individual creative thoughts. What you do is you go with the fold. You go with the mold. And so, it's a big move for them to do it. It's, they're going to be, hopefully it's all going to be a waste of money, and I hope that the propaganda doesn't work for people, because I think that most people, it's what kind of propaganda do you have to be putting out there for Joe Biden to convince people that Joe Biden is good? That's going to have to be the best propaganda ever to be able to convince anyone of that. So
that's the problem with endorsements. They're so disgusting because there's usually some quid pro quo behind them, and in this case, just freaking paying them. But where am I going wrong on this, Dawson?
I don't think that there's anything immoral about campaigning, right? I'm
not making the argument necessarily against the super PAC. I'm saying it's disgusting that these social media influencers, not that these are like some high moral characters in the start,
right?
Probably half of them have OnlyFans, right? I have no idea. I don't even know who these people are, to be quite frankly. I saw the first name, and I didn't even recognize that name. But I'm not even on TikTok, so and it's not an age thing, in case you guys go that route. It's just I hate China.
Mm-hmm.
42-year-old Latori Store. Do you know who that is?
No, I've never heard that name before.
Jack Doyle. Oh no, that's a Priorities. Well, that was only TikToker that they had on there. Latori Store, STORR. So I mean, I just learned who the hell Destiny was the other day, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know the leftist influencers.
Mm-hmm.
But see, it's more, what are you if you're just going to sell out and push some candidate?
I mean, they're
Like
probably...
if you really
especially
believe in the
Joe
candidate,
Biden, that's the thing. It's not like they're excited and they can't wait to vote for Joe Biden.
Right.
It's not a natural thing. It's not like they're,
Well,
it's not like
maybe
they've been drawn into Joe Biden. No, it's they hate Trump and they're willing to take some money for
what's
it.
saying that they don't love Joe Biden?
Huh?
Why?
Because
But
nobody
see, don't
loves Joe
complicate
Biden.
it with money, then.
I mean, how many people actually think Joe Biden is a great president? I think if you looked at the poll numbers and you asked the Democrats, how many of, if you ask the Democrats, rank Joe Biden's presidency on a scale of 1 to 10, I don't think you're going to be getting a whole lot of 10s. I think a lot of them would be saying 5, 6, and that's good enough for him, But a lot of the Democrats, they don't love him, especially the young people. I think if you ask young people how many of them actually like Joe Biden, how many of them actually think he's done a 10 out of 10 job, I think you'd be struggling to find any of them unless they're being dishonest and being, propagandized.
That'd be an interesting poll to see, but whether or not we think that people love Biden or not, I don't think that we can know.
I mean, we could easily look it up, and it goes without saying that Biden has the lowest approval ratings of any sitting president at this time in history. So there's that, and then on top of that, I think it goes, there's no doubt about it that if you look at someone like Barack Obama compared to Joe Biden, who was more popular within the Democratic Party during their presidencies? Of course, Barack Obama, because the Democrats had faith in him, and the Democrats saw hope. They saw that this guy was competent. They thought that this guy was good and, representing them on the world stage. They knew the guy was, representing what they believed in press conferences. Joe Biden, they have no idea what Joe Biden's about to say in press conferences, so they're nervous. And the only reason they're behind him is because of Trump. Like I'm saying, there's very, very few people in the world that are actually big Joe Biden supporters. The only people are the people that have known him for the last 50 years in Delaware.
I guess, it's such an interesting concept because I guess I don't know their platforms here, Maybe they're just corporate shills and they're pushing anything. Like for me, Travis Kelce, doing the Pfizer thing. How well thought out was that by him? Did you see the paycheck?
It's like I don't really. I'm trying to think back because I've never been interested in politics really, but like going back and thinking about like Disney Channel or something like that, Nick Jr. or whatever. When I was a kid, I would see a lot of ads with Michelle Obama on them because she was like, all the school stuff and
yeah, but that's like pushing a charitable cause. That's
right. So, but I'm trying to remember if there was anything like that with Obama instead of Michelle Obama, or with Barack Obama instead of Michelle Obama.
Well, in that case, it's like they're using their star capabilities to influence a charitable thing, which I think is fine. But this is like influencers trying to say you should vote for a candidate.
Yeah, and if you look back at that 2007 Democratic primary, I mean, like Obama had a whole lot of online support. He had the natural online support because the online Democrats and liberals, they were saying, well, let's not put Hillary in there. If we have the choice between a cool black guy and Hillary, let's choose the cool black guy. And so that's where a lot of the Democrats came down. The young people were, Obama was kind of the first social media candidate because he was getting a lot of attention online because he wasn't always getting all of the mainstream media at that time at the very beginning. But then the mainstream media realized, this guy's willing to play ball. This guy's going to do whatever we tell him to. So they accepted Obama into the fold. But in the very beginning there, him and Mike Gravel and a couple of these others, they were kind of the online candidates. And, we see that go on later on with, people like Andrew Yang and then people like Vivek. So some of it still continues on. But, Joe Biden, he has no legitimate online grassroots support. The only people that are doing that are the people who know they're lying. They're not actually enthusiastic about Joe Biden. The only people that are like that are the people who are, pushing that message, knowing what they're doing. It's not genuine.
Yeah, and honestly, even if you were genuine, you like them, I still think the money kind of muddles it up. I mean, look, our sponsors I believe in. They help pay for the show. We got costs here, so that's good. Maybe it's just the audience. Like, I couldn't, in good conscience, on this show, ever get paid to promote a candidate. But that's maybe because we're a political show, and that's the way I look at it, right?
Yeah, I'd have to see these channels that are getting paid to make the content, and I'd have to see the content itself. I haven't looked at any of the TikToks of you.
When I'm not even on TikTok. So maybe it's way different, being that they're not political. But
yeah, if they're not political. Brad,
go
go ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say, Brad has a comment. They're obviously more interested in the paycheck than the candidate. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
I mean,
why would they don't even care. They're just getting money.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. They
Probably
might not care. I'll just put it this way. We'll never do that on this show because then we lose all credibility.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing with the corporate media that basically promotes pharmaceutical companies, like 60% of their revenue. So why would they ever hunt this stuff down in COVID? That's a hard thing about having sponsorships, because sponsorships make shows work, right? You do need money. This stuff costs money. So it's like you got to try to deconflict things, right? I guess if we have to do a story on cabinetry, we might be we might be in trouble. We're biased, okay? So we are very careful here, and this is all brand new, by the way. We've only went independent last week, but this show will never. We would lose all credibility if we ever got paid to do a sponsorship for a candidate. Mm-hmm. That'd be wrong.
Like having Scott Jensen on, there was no money. Nothing even came up about that.
Well, he wasn't even a candidate. First of all, I think everyone knows I wouldn't have ever endorsed it. That's how you know I would be bought and paid for if I actually endorsed Scott Jensen. Yeah. But we had him on the show last February, March, because it was an interesting story how his license has been revoked. It was a news story. It had nothing to do with him. He wasn't even a candidate at the time. Nothing to do with him as, a potential candidate, right? Because then, by the way, if we have potential candidates on the show, we're going to grill you, right? It's probably why they never want to come on the show.
It will not be fun if you are currently running.
Well, it could be fun. I mean, look, Senator Nate Wiesenberg comes on the show pretty regularly.
The guy that is going against Fishbuck.
We had Steve Boyd. I mean,
so if you're solid, it'll be fun.
You can't call Steve Boyd a politician. I guess he is a candidate. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah. And we've had some candidates challenging rhinos. Obviously, I'm biased more towards those guys. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. But I
think it's a good time to reach out an invitation to David Hahn again. Come on the show.
David Hahn can always come on.
Love to talk to you again.
100%. Won't do it, but that seat over there, it's always there for you. So, all right. That's it. Those are the topics. We don't need to get into Nikki Haley's affair, do we?
No, it's people can look that up for themselves. I mean, I believe it, but I don't know. People can dig into that themselves, though.
Do you think Donald Trump has always been faithful to his wives? Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So
I don't know.
We'll bear this story. We don't need to do this one.
That's all. I mean, one of his wives died, but the one that's still alive.
Not when he was married to her, though.
Huh?
Not when he was married to her.
Not when they were married. But I'm just saying, they all left on good terms.
Yeah, they did, but I think
that's kind of the definition of success. It's like, are you still good after the fact? Then if you are, then it worked out.
Actually, I would say if there were divorces, it's the opposite of success. I'd say that's failure.
Yeah, unless, I just see it if they still get along, they're both happy with the decision.
It's always preferable if a divorce happens. It's always preferable with kids. I 100% agree with you on that, Jesse. Or if you're in RFK's case, your wives die.
Yeah.
Wait, how many wives has he had?
He's had 2 wives. Now he's on his 3rd. Sorry.
And they've both died?
Yeah.
Dang.
He's married to Cheryl Hines from Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's Larry's ex-wife on the show. Yeah. Wow. If I was Cheryl Hines, I'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah, I'd be
all your wives have died when you were married to them? He's been widowed twice. What a crazy story. It's like that movie, So I Married an Axe-Murderer. Great movie. Love that. 90s. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. David Hahn is a great representative of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. All right. Love you guys. Thank you so much for all the Rumble rants. Thank you, Dawson, for running the dials. Bridget, thanks for reading the comments. MAGA Jesse, always wise, man. You got some fans out there. People reach out to me all the time. Like, MAGA Jesse. He's so smart.
Right.
And then I get the ladies that go, oh, he's so cute. He just, look at him. He's just like a boss. He doesn't even faze him. He's just like, all right. That does happen, by the way. I get those. I need to invite you to the January 30th. Everyone
Jesse's not invited?
No, I didn't even tell you guys about it. I'll have to tell you off air.
Wow.
And don't let me forget about that meme. It's too damn good.
Sounds good.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Take care.